So at this point in your C# adventure, you should have installed Visual Studio. You should have created your first project, but maybe it just didn't do anything. In this time, we're going to take my first program, which is a fictitious first program, and as you can see, it doesn't look very good, but it's really here as a demonstration point to show you the environment of Visual Studio when relating to C#. We talked a little bit about the design versus the actual programming of the design last time. And we've also said, well, these files are from over here. If you look at the Solution Explorer, you're going to see tons and tons and tons of files, or pieces at least of files, that are able to be grabbed and used by you. Also, if you were to look into your, let's say, my first program, you would see a folder, more folders, more, and a whole lot of files. There's just an enormous amount of files, and sometimes people can get oversaturated by them. But most of these files you're not going to touch. They're there for you to touch if you should you want to. But Microsoft and the .NET system is try to streamline all these things so that we can do the basics efficiently and kind of create these nice looking apps. Okay, so don't worry about these so much now. Just know that this Form 1 that's CS'd up here relates directly to this Form 1 right there. And notice also when I clicked on this Form C1, we had this properties change. So if I clicked on this guy, the properties change here. And also some of the pieces. Because each one of these has a set of properties. If I go into the design view one more time and click on a button, that button has a specific property. So not only files have properties, but things within our files have properties like buttons and labels, etc. So right here it says, click me. I could actually change that text to don't click me, and it will update right here on my first program's GUI. Properties are carried by the individual component or object that you see on the screen. Now, how do you create those objects? Well, let's go all the way over here to the left, and you'll see a toolbox. And let's scroll down all the way to the word button. That button can be dragged and put onto the form. This toolbox has lots and lots of things that you can put into a form, and you don't have to program and code it all yourself. It's already pre-made, and you can just put it in here. So think of this environment this way. You have all your helpful lists up here that we're going to use throughout the semester. Everything that we can use and put into our program is on here that is pre-made. Everything over to the right tells us about what's in the center. And then at the bottom, this is kind of where we debug and find our errors. Now, how do we create those errors? Well, we can hit the start button here and see if we can generate this. So whenever I hit start, I'm actually running the program, and unlike the program we made last time, where it really was just a form, now we have a working button. So if I click that don't click me button, it says you clicked me, and it throws up a dialog box. Notice that it has changed the environment a little bit. That's just because it's kind of a good visual clue that you're in the executable environment, and it's not really a good idea right now to edit your code. So I'm going to click OK. The exit button does work on this, so I can get out of it, and it throws us right back into our space. Now, all these windows or panels, whatever you'd like to call them, can move around, so I can pull this guy off. And one of the frustrating things that I always have is when I try to put it back, it doesn't seem to go back where I want it to. So instead of putting it right underneath my Solution Explorer, it made it a tab. Well, Microsoft Visual Studio actually makes this easy for us too to fit in. So let's say I'm moving this around. As soon as I move it around, I get this cross. See that? And if I go over the cross, it will show me where it's going to put it. So I can put it right there. See, it's to the right of the center, so it's going to be right middle center, and it'll drop it there. But that's not where I want it, right? So how do I actually get it to here? Well, each column actually has its own cross. So if I go over here, I have a smaller cross, and all of a sudden you see that little down panel, and I can hover right over and put my arrow on it and click, and now it drops exactly to where it was before. I can resize these windows, do whatever I want with them, and let's say I really do something where I don't like it. Well, remember, you can always go up to Windows and go to Reset Window Layout. It'll ask you if you want to do it. You say yes, and sure enough, it goes exactly the way it was. Now, if you recreate this in a way that you really love it, so now I really love the way my windows are set up, and I totally mishmashed all my panels, and they're everywhere. Go ahead and hit the Save Window Layout, and then next time you can just load that up and do it accordingly. The rest of this toolbar up here in the drop-down list, we're going to get to more in depth later, but those essentially help us build and run our projects and get useful information out of it. So now that we kind of understand our environment, we created a first bogus project. Next time we're actually going to get in and we're going to program this stuff out. So come back for the next video.